It's not you, it's me, has to be one of the most common platitudes used in the breakup of relationships. And paradoxically, when somebody says it, they often mean the opposite. They do think it's you, and they're convinced that it's not them. Now, as a species, we are wired for connection. We are born to bond, quite literally. And when we experience emotional trauma or any form of rejection or suffering in our formative years, our brain literally rewires itself for protection, and it creates all of these defense mechanisms and coping strategies that will keep you safe in childhood, and they can generally serve you quite well when you have very specific needs and when you're not able to rationalize and negotiate the relationships that you're in. However, when you bring those coping mechanisms into your adult relationships, they're oftentimes maladaptive and dysfunctional and can really work against you without your awareness. I mean, these things have become so ingrained in your psyche that you're not even aware of them. And in fact, you assume that everyone else is to blame. You assume that everything that goes wrong is another person's fault. And relationships can be the ultimate catalyst for healing the hurts of your childhood or of your early years. And yet, more often than not, we tend to just choose to jump ship. We're just like, oh, this is too hard, this is too difficult, this is too challenging. And we move on, we break up, and we never do the work that we need to do. And I'm not saying that every relationship should stick it out, but there are some cases where people break apart rather than breaking themselves apart, and maybe that's the work that needs to be done. And that relationships are oftentimes seen as a place that are meant to be very romantic and fun and exciting, and it's all about the sex and the dinners and Netflix. And ultimately, relationships are one of the greatest mirrors into our inner experience. They trigger all of our triggers, they bring up all of our emotional stuff. It's all brought up there, regurgitated if we want to work with it and if we want to heal it. And because it's difficult, we tend not to. We tend to run for the hills at the earliest sign of conflict. But this conflict, this ability to sit down together, to look at each other's baggage, to look at the suffering and the kind of the past that you brought with you into the current relationship, that's what it's all about. And oftentimes I see people talking about kind of stepping out of their comfort zone by climbing a mountain, or by doing something a little bit unusual. And the reality is, stepping out of your comfort zone is stepping out of the little protective function that you have internally that keeps you safe, that prevents you being vulnerable in your relationships, and that stops you ultimately from those deep, meaningful connections that we are designed for. So it's about breaking them down. They're the real comfort zone that you need to be looking at, because they're the most difficult things to work on. We all struggle with it, and yet if we can manage to break down those barriers a little bit, our relationships will change, but so will our attitude towards ourselves, towards other people, towards our life, and we'll be able to form a greater level of acceptance, both of the good and the bad, because again, your relationships give you that opportunity to become aware of, I suppose, the not so attractive elements of yourself. And oftentimes when a partner brings these to our attention, we're like, fuck no, that's not me, it's all you. But the reality is, we need to be shown this. And if we can see our relationships as an opportunity to learn a little bit more about ourselves and to heal stuff inside that needs to be worked on, then we'll be a lot better off. So if you are struggling in your relationship and you feel like as if the conflict seems to be increasing as opposed to dissolving, or indeed if you are struggling with self-acceptance, or you're struggling with I suppose, connecting with other people at a deep level, then get in touch with me on my website. It's fundamentals.ie. You'll also catch lots of my content on YouTube. The channel is Fiona Feely. Similar videos to this. Go check it out. Hope everyone has an amazing day.